biblical perspective. Hi, Shalom sisters. This is Sister Yeskaya, and today we're just examining life through a biblical perspective. Today I'd like to talk about the older women being disobedient in the assembly. So this is something that I find has been, it is starting to be preached more and more. And it has been a trending disregard for older saints in the Hebrew Israelite assemblies when it comes to women. The deacons, the elders, they'll say things like, these older women, they have been alone for so long that they won't obey a man. Things like the older women have ran their homes for so long by themselves that they won't yield their authority to men. I think this is their opinions. Older women will yield their authority when they trust a man. It takes an older woman a longer time to trust men because they have been alone for so long, and oftentimes they've been wiped with man's hind parts more than once. So these ideas are being impressed upon the minds of the brethren to the point that there's a blatant disrespect for older female saints that might have more questions than none, or if the younger saints are coming to the older women and asking them questions, or if the older women are not agreeing with what is being said in the assemblies. They're being embarrassed, they're being called out, they're being kicked out, and they're being talked about. And I think that this is something we really need to look at as a people. What you may want to consider, brethren and elders, is that older women are not just going to accept anything, especially if she knows the Lord and has developed a relationship with Yeshua, Jesus Christ. We've oftentimes been thrown into a man's position because of life circumstances. And for women who have raised more children than more men children than women children, our our demeanor has been changed in order to raise our men not to be effeminate. So oftentimes, even with myself, I've raised men. And in raising my men, I raised 3 men and 1 girl. So being as a young girl, I was able to have lots of young little boyfriends. I had more boyfriends than girlfriends. So, I'm used to spitting and, playing games like kickball and tether ball and wrestling and, all of the little things that boys do. And, even in my speech and in my demeanor, in the way I hold my wrists and in the way I walk and stand and things to that sort, which is a blessing for me because your young men will look at you, being that their fathers are not always around, and then they'll try to mimic you. So what you want to do is you want to always hold your head in a certain position. You don't want to do girly things like how we do things that like girls, and all of those things. You don't want to do those things. You want to keep your wrist tight, you want to keep your neck straight, you want to keep your hips tight and your legs wide and things to that sort, so that your sons will, when they mimic you, they are doing things that men do. And then of course as they get older, then you can let them know, if they're not holding their head right, or if they are holding their arm in and not out, the elbow in or not, and not out, and things to that sort. So as older women, we've been through a lot, um, and we have to think through everything, because we are alone and because we are going through life um, in a man's position. It's hard when a mother has to discipline her sons. It's hard when those sons turn 13 and start to try to talk back or try to disrespect. and then we have to raise our voices, or we have to carry our tones, to a lower baritone. Those things hurt a woman physically, mentally. And yeah, we are going to be a little bit more taken back by one who says, um, we're your head now, and you need to tell us everything that you're doing and where you're going, and what you're planning and all these things. We're not going to be agreeing with those types of things, because we haven't had to answer to anyone except the Lord, you see. So although the Assemblies, they preach slavery, they preach that we are a broken people, it's like they just expect the women to miraculously change and immediately give up their control to a stranger. Okay. When we don't trust anyone, and life is hard as a single woman in America, and the brethren at the Assemblies are so hard pressed at being the man that they try to enforce their position upon the older women by pressure, through threats, which only causes the older women in the Assemblies to further distrust them. It, they further distrust the Assembly, they further distrust their methods. And it makes me very glad that the Most High God does not perform in this matter, that He does not orchestrate um, His correction in this way at all. You have to understand, brethren, that in order for an older woman to do what you want them to do, okay, because this is what it all boils down to. You you tell the Assembly that you expect XYZ, and then the older women in the Assembly is like, maybe Z didn't sound too right, or why do you expect these things of us? And then now it presents a problem, because uh, a question has been posed that perhaps um, you were not ready to answer, or that you did not want to answer, or that or perhaps that you did not want to be asked. And then instead of um, you know giving an ambiguous answer and just speaking with her later on, you embarrass her, okay, to make her feel foolish, and to make yourself feel as if um, your imposition was righteous, and that she's unrighteous, she's a devil, whatever it is, that you may begin to spout out there. But what we have to understand, brethren, is in order for the older women um, to respect you, especially those that are well established in the Word, sisters that are well rooted in Christ, Yeshua, Jesus, um, we first have to be able to respect you, okay? And respect goes both ways. If you don't respect me, it's going to be very difficult for me to respect you, especially if you're younger than me, okay? Um, in order for her to respect you, she has to first trust you. In order for her to trust you, she has to first see that you care, and that you have her best interests at heart, okay? The disrespect for older women, it trickles down from the head, and it causes a disrespect to begin all around. So this is displeasing to God, because now instead of the younger women treating the older women as mothers and treating the younger women as sisters, now they're disrespecting the older women. The younger men, they're disrespecting the older women, and the elders are disrespecting the older women, the deacons, the bishops. They're disrespecting the older women in their um, in the uh, in the Sabbath class discussions, in the way they interact on a daily basis, in the way they answer the questions that the older women ask. And there's a command that was posed by Christ, okay? And this one command, he made it very specific in understanding that the entire law and the prophets, they rests on this one command. That command is to do unto your neighbor as you would have your neighbor do unto you. It doesn't say whether or not that neighbor is a male or a female. So have a little bit more respect for the older women, even though they have been through a lot in their lives. They um, still deserve respect. Okay. Um, the For the brethren who are teaching that men between the ages of 20 to 40 should be courting 12-year-olds to 16-year-olds, or 12-year-olds to 18-year-olds, to train them to be their wives. That's foolishness. Okay, women, do not stand for that. If you have heard that, if that's being preached in your assemblies, because I know that it is being spread abroad, that the older men should now require younger, because the older women are just too difficult to be with, and that it's just too hard to get an older woman to obey you. Okay, I don't believe that we should fall for that as women, sisters. So this was not happening at my assembly, but I have seen brethren online talking in this manner. Do not allow your younger daughters to court these older men, because the only thing that's going to happen is that the next thing you know, they will have intercourse with those little girls, and then they'll try to tie them up in a marriage that has not even been situated through a contract. There's no ring, there's no dowry, there's no parental guidance. Please don't do that to your daughters. Allow your daughters to stay little girls, and let those older men court women that are grown. Men, seek women that are 20 years and older, and stop trying to court little girls. The scripture says that parents should raise their children in the way that they should go. Not a man should uh, um, train his wife from the age of 12. That's that's not scriptural.